Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Friday night and it is Florence Donald here with you. Tonight we're going to talk about an exciting topic, and that topic is checklist, the magic of using checklists to improve your productivity. If you're a person who sometimes run a little off the rails, sometimes not really sure you got all the steps in the process, sometimes feeling a little bit overwhelmed, then checklists are the answer. There's magic in them. There's power in them. And tonight, we're going to talk about some of the benefits and how they can help you elevate your productivity. I am excited to be with you all this evening. My name is Florence Donald. I'm here with the Equip Institute, where we work with professionals and entrepreneurs and faith-based organizations to elevate your productivity. So I like to start a very specific way. And that is, I like to start with defining things. I like to know what it is. So what is a checklist? That's the very first topic that I'm going to say. And that a checklist is it's just simply a way to capture the steps in a process. I call it a recipe. It is a recipe to execute a process beginning to end without missing anything in between. That's a very simple but very powerful definition. And when you start with the right definition, then you can get to the goal that you want to get to because you know what you're talking about. And I've got some people here this evening. I'm going to get to you, but I want to get through some of the material first this evening and just share thoughts around this very powerful topic. You see, I learned a long time ago to use checklists. I use them really in my professional life. I really use them. And when I work with team members, I use them. I teach team members how to use a checklist for all kind of processes that we have to execute. And then as they get better, they begin to define their own checklist. And there's actually a little process to creating a checklist that people don't always think about. You really have to consider what it is you want to achieve, what your outcome is, and then back into what are all of the steps to get to the outcome, and then identify all of the materials and all of the resources to execute each of the steps in that checklist. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, the checklist process. And I'm going to get right into the first benefit. And I want to do this based on benefits because there is power here. And the first benefit, I talked about it and I started with it, and that is to increase your productivity. Why do I say increase your productivity? Well, it's very simple. It allows your mind, using a checklist, a well-developed checklist, allows your mind, first of all, to relax. You're not trying to remember and you're not overwhelmed with what are all of the things I have to do. You're simply saying, okay, I've got this one done. I'm going to get to this one next. It also, as a part of increasing productivity, and this is going to maybe a little counterintuitive, it reduces mistakes. The reason it reduces mistakes is you're going step by step and you're not skipping over steps and you're not having to remember. I'm going to talk about that remembering thing because we use that all the time. We use it consistently. I didn't remember. I said it today. I didn't remember. That's because I realized I needed to write one. It also, in terms of productivity, it increases our efficiency. How does it increase our efficiency? We don't have to backtrack. We don't have to be trying to figure out what we need. We know exactly what we need. We know exactly what step we're on. We know exactly, and we've got all of the material together. So that's allowing us to just go and execute and do. And it ensures that we execute a process correctly the first time. If you have a checklist that you do anything with, go ahead and tell me about it in a comment. Leave a comment saying, hey, I use a checklist for whatever it is that you use a checklist for? Because I would love to hear some of the checklists that are used out there and see what we can do to work with it. The last one I want to talk about kind of leads into the second area or benefit that I want to say, and that is it breaks down complex processes into small digestible chunks. One of the reasons we get overwhelmed is we try to do the proverbial boil the ocean or eat the whole elephant, but using a checklist, we break down something really big into small digestible chunks, and that allows us to have a benefit of increasing our productivity. The next benefit is that it allows us, because we now have a process, we now know all of the steps, we now know what the outcome is, it sets us up to be able to delegate. It also sets us up to have a transparent process and hold ourselves or someone else accountable. What do I mean by that? If you delegate a process to someone on your team or in your business that you're working with, if you give them a checklist, then there's no reason that they can say they didn't know what to do. They have all of the steps. That means the leader has to lead by being able to either develop the checklist themselves or work with their team to develop a checklist that is accurate and organization to be able to delegate. So much of the time, I've gone into situations where someone in the business was saying, hey, Joe, go do such and such. Well, Joe didn't know all the steps. We may have new team members coming on board, and we assume that because we're using common terms, that the team member knows how to execute a specific step in our business or in our organization. And that most likely is not true. They may know pieces and parts from other places, but they don't know exactly how we will do it. And so being able to build that checklist, develop that checklist, allows us to prepare to delegate and ensure that those who come behind us are really able to execute, because it gives them concrete, visible, bite-sized activities to follow in order. So that's number two. That's the second benefit. I'm going to pause here and say hello to a few people who are out there. I'm going to say hello to Miss Gwen. She's here with us. She's saying hi to some of the other folks in the room with us, in the building with us today. I'm going to say hello to Frank, who is here with us this evening. Great. You're one of my moderators, and so I'm so appreciative. And then, of course, we have the Josh is here with us, and thank you. Happy Friday, Live Tribe. Yes, happy Friday, Live Tribe. And can you believe it is the week before Christmas? Wow, the year has flown by. It has truly flown by. Let me get back to some of the benefits of using a checklist. The third one is organization, and this one these go together. And I want to stop and just talk about something that I did and how I use this. In my business, we bring on new team members, and we did not have a good onboarding process. We had a very high level onboarding process. But then when it came time to get those team members ready to start executing projects with clients, they weren't ready because they didn't have all of the ways we set up our project files, our contact list, our distribution list, all of the things that we set up to make a project run smoothly. So I set about and I created an onboarding checklist, and it starts at recognizing that the new person has come on board. It ends with the person going through a number of training classes that they have to get through to work effectively with us. And so what it did was organize probably 3 pages of information and put it in a way that as myself and the team can keep track of where they are, and I can keep track of where they are. And we can see we needed to finish step 3 before we finished step 4. And it really organized that onboarding process for new team members. Now, I do onboarding and other things in volunteer work. And just think about the power if you do volunteer work or you work with a faith-based organization and you have a team that comes in, especially when you're dealing with faith-based organizations and volunteer service. The team members change all the time. What would the power be of having an organized, clearly delineated onboarding checklist that everyone went through? There's power in it. And I saw an increase in productivity very quickly with the new team members because they weren't confused about where they should be. They didn't think that they needed to have on week 1 what they weren't going to get until 6 months into their process. We have it laid out, and that helps with the organization. It keeps us clear. We don't get lost and confused in the process. The next benefit is it releases our creativity. Why and how does it release our creativity? It releases our creativity because we don't have to think about the mundane. The checklist is visible, we can follow it, and we don't have to give any thought to those mundane, routine activities, those normal processes that we execute in our business and in our projects and in our faith-based organizations. If you're a professional of any type, and I know the people in chat are professionals, and most of you all that I work with, some are retired, but the majority of the people that I work with are either doing high-level volunteer service, or they're in business, or they're working in a corporate environment. So that's professionals, right? And so being able to be creative in all of those areas that you work in is powerful. You're not focused on routine. Let me see. Let me think if I can. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to doing what I'm doing here. Live streaming. I was really fortunate in that my mentor had a checklist for going live streaming, and I started following that checklist very early on. I made some mistakes, but by now I've gotten pretty good and know exactly what I'm doing, but I still check the checklist to free my mind. Why? It gave me the space, the mental space to think, what do I want the information to look like to my community when I present it? Where do I want it on the screen? What words do I want to use? How do I make it so that it's visible? That's the creativity part. How do I want to present it? I didn't get stuck in the minutia of setting up the microphone, setting up the lights, turning on the microphone. Y'all know I had problems with audio. Really focused on that part of the checklist. What I wanted to say, having my description written, all of the things that go into, I think one of the community members said, just preparing a live stream episode is a project in and of itself, and it really is. And so there are a number of steps that I go through. They're all in a checklist now. So that's an example. So there's something that you do regularly that requires quite a number of steps. The routine things, put them in a checklist. That leaves your mind free to be creative, to think, how do I want to do something? So you're here this evening. If you have not already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I started out early saying, hey, let the broader world of YouTube know that we're here and we're sharing valuable information. And if you're getting value this evening, one of the best ways, and it doesn't cost you anything to support this channel, is to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button and the comment. Those 3 things are great support, and I'm so appreciative of everything that you all are doing. So that's awesome. And we're moving quickly today. The last benefit I'm going to talk about is motivation. Why motivation? That's because as we work through a checklist, example, me preparing for the live stream, each time a step is completed, it's a win. And our minds give us a dopamine release. Dopamine links to motivation. It also links to pleasure, which is reinforcing the positive, and it keeps us wanting to go forward. That is how using a checklist can help you with motivation. You get started and you keep going because you see progress being made, and you don't have to go back, and you don't have to think about what did I do or what did I miss or how is it. It just simply puts you on a path to execute whatever it is. Remember, I said it's a recipe. So if it's cooking something, great. And it turned out great, and you know you're going to have a consistent meal or dish that you're turning out. So it really doesn't matter what the thing is that you're doing. It just matters that you lay it out in a way that you can release your mind from the mundane and the stress and just kind of relax. Relax into it and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the journey. So that is one of the ways. Checklist. Oh my goodness, I have to stop. I just saw this gentleman. I am so excited to see you here. Ken, so excited to see you here. And I know we just reconnected, but I have watched you and followed you for a very long time. So I'm very thrilled to have you here and have you join the community this evening. Thank you for coming by, being in the building with us. You're some and that move and everything has been, I'm glad you guys have settled. I'm getting settled in. So I want to just share with you a resource. You know, I love sharing resources, and I got challenged to do this very early on. And checklist is one of those things that I'm real passionate about building for everything that I do, that my team does, that people I work with do. If you need any help to talk through, to help develop, to figure out what kind of checklist, go to florencedonald.live, book a 15-minute call. We can have a discussion, figure out what we can do together if you want to work with me, and we'll take it from there. You don't have to take the journey by yourself. If you're not accustomed to building checklists, it can be a little bit daunting, but you can do it. I promise you, you can do it. It is doable, it's achievable, and I'm right there with you every step of the way. So I want to share this because many of you know I read books. I'm a reader. I'm a book nerd. And in the book, the Checklist Manifesto, which really talks about the medical practice using checklists, is a really great reminder. And it says, checklists remind us of the minimum necessary steps and make them explicit. That is a very powerful visual to put in our mind. All kinds of organizations use checklists. Of course, we all hear about pilots who use a checklist before the plane ever takes off. I just shared with you medical professionals, surgeons, all kind of nurses, clinicians of all type use checklists for their work every day. They're dealing with people's lives. It's really important. But every other profession I know that's successful has checklists. If you're a creative or a content creator, I shared with you all, I used to check the content creation checklist for live streaming that I obtained from my mentor. You use checklist. If you are a creative or a designer, you use checklist. If you are an organization leader, checklists are very powerful to make sure your organization is moving in the direction that you want it to move and not having to retract. So the last thing I want to share is there are two types of checklists. We've talked about having them, but there are two very distinct types of checklists. And this is a teaser, so if you call me, we can dig into it. One is a read and do checklist. Read and do. People who use this type of checklist tend to be a lot of technologists, people who work in technology. They're working with new types of, and you can speak to this one. They're maybe working with a new piece of gear or a new piece of application or a new process about the way something works. They will resort to using a do and read type checklist, especially while they're building the habit. Chefs use this. Can you say your life is built on checklist? Mine is too. I'm right there with you. So technologists, people who work in IT, those of you who know me, you know that I work in IT and I'm also in healthcare. So those two combinations, there's a checklist for almost for breathing. There's a checklist for everything. And then there's the do and confirm type checklist. What is this? This more about one of the things that pilots do. Public speakers use this a lot, this type, do and confirm. You go through your process and you choose your checklist to make sure you didn't forget something. When I write, if I'm going to be doing a speech, I know what my speech is about. I've got my topic and all of that. I've got my visuals put together. I will still, because I have a checklist for it, I will still review that checklist to make sure that I did do and read and then do and confirm. They both work. You just need to make sure you're using them correctly for your use case or your application. So that is really the core of it. We're going to do a little bit of summarization and then we're going to get out of here. I'm not trying to talk all night with y'all. So remember this quote from the Checklist Manifesto. And if you haven't read that book, get it and read it. It is fabulous. It is eye-opening for you. So then I'm going to do a little bit of a summarization here with you. And then we're going to get out of here. What are the benefits of using a checklist? That's really what I want you to walk away with. The benefits of using a checklist, because there's power in it. The first one is it increases your productivity. Remember, this channel is about elevating your productivity, creating more value in your life, in your profession, in your business. You do that by elevating your productivity because it frees you to be able to produce that the exact thing that you want to produce. The second one is it helps to prepare you to delegate things to your team, whether it's in a job, in your business, in volunteer service. Those checklists are pivotal and essential to being able to delegate and get consistent output from the people that you're delegating to. The third one is it helps us to stay organized. We're not scatterbrained all over the place. We have all the materials that we need before we even get started and we know what they are. The last one is, and this is, well, not the last one, there's one more, but this one I really love. It releases our creativity. We're not stuck in the routine. We can just let our minds go and see what the next great idea we have. And then we can get to work on developing, producing that next great thing that we see, which is very powerful. And then the last one is it increases our motivation because it lets us have wins. So y'all know, if you've ever been here before, and if you haven't, and you're part of the replay crew, I still want you to put your comments in the comment and share your win of the week. If you want to share, and I'm asking in a nice way, share your productivity win of the week. I would love to hear about it. We've been at this now this is our 10th week together. So we've been sharing productivity tips each week. Have you applied any of them? What's been one thing that was a win this week for you in terms of productivity? A win is a win. It doesn't need to be that you drove 3,000 miles. That would be hard work. So I'm going to give you time to get through your win of the week. And I'm going to remind you that if you want some help, you want to have a conversation and building checklists, go ahead and go to florencedonald.live and you can book a 15-minute call with me. Doesn't cost you anything. It's just a conversation, but I'll be glad to have that conversation with you and see how I can help you. And it may just you need to talk for 15 minutes and you're off and running. So I'm checking the conversation here, and I'm going to share this here real quick that Ken says. He's a career Linux system admin. And so you are a busy man, sir. You got a lot going on and a lot of details you have to follow and keep track of. And you also said your life is built on checklists for work and content. Yes, this whole content thing, checklists are really important. I am glad that I know how to use them and that I'm committed to using them already, because it's making it so much easier for me to follow. So no worries. My mentor is here. I am going to acknowledge you, Mr. Walter Strong, and I'm going to tell you right now, you need to be with him on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Go check out his channel, The Huddle with Walter Strong, and you will see what he's got coming up on Saturday. And so awesome win. And I may not be able to get it on the screen. Fix a system issue that has been a problem for about 3 months. Files moving between 6 companies nightly. That is a major, major win. Files moving between 6 companies every night. Woo! That's a major win. Awesome. We've got another gentleman here in the building with us, Tech Troublemaker. Ooh, Tech. I have to tell you, I was feeling some kind of way on Tuesday night. I couldn't answer any of those questions. I was half gone. It was done. I was done. But I had fun anyway. Tech did his Christmas special on Tuesday. And that was interesting. So, Ken, I have been starting to watch some of your new content on your new channel. Of course, the way I met you was through looking for content coaches and being led to various people in the community. And I understand that you now have the official Ken. I know there is at least one person who's in the building with us tonight who loves like mysteries and true crime stories. If you like that, go check out Ken's channel. He is really building that information load, that content for us. So for those who like that, so I'll watch it and then I gotta talk myself out of being scared, but that's okay. I'll do it anyway. So that's it tonight, y'all. We have definitely gone through all of the material tonight, and I am so excited. Next week, I will just share a little programming note. We're just going to do a real quick being ready for 2023. Lots of you, I know Walter has done some work. Oh, let me make sure I make this work. But Walter's done some work on helping us end the year and do our assessments and look back at our accomplishments and our challenges and looking forward. So if you did not get a chance to watch that and be a part of it, go back and watch last Saturday's. He did a masterful job. And in fact, he did some live streaming on LinkedIn that you need to catch as well. But I just want to put this programming note up for him on Saturday. Saturday is a special time. It's at 2 p.m., not 11 a.m. Please make that correction in your calendar. Saturday at 2 p.m., not 11 a.m. And Walter's win of the week is he made it through the week. Hey, that is a win. That is a win. Absolutely. So being able to smile, put a smile on our face and making it through the week is definitely a win. Oh yes, this is a big, huge one. This is a huge one and I want to acknowledge it. Roy, 500 subs. You hit your sub goal. Congratulations, my friend. So excited. I'm excited to be here with these content creators. And I know that there's somebody else who has not talked about a win that they had this week. And I'm going to go back and find her. Miss Gwen had some things happen. She does some volunteer work. And I'm going to put her name up there, and I'm going to tell her she's had some organizations that she's leading complete some major goals and activities that she set for them. Since she's not putting it out there, I'm not going to put the details out there, but congratulations on what you're doing, working with those folks and getting them through the processes that you're bringing them through. So that is it, guys. We have completed tonight. We're at 7 o'clock, and I want to make sure I did not overlook anybody. Just double checking myself. Didn't overlook anybody, and I didn't mute myself, y'all. That's my win of the week. I did not mute myself tonight. I'm excited about it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. There will be a link to a video here after this processes. Go watch it because it's in a playlist that will help you organize and get your productivity system started. Good night, everybody. Glad you were here with me.